Hello? Hello?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the teleconference. First of all, I'm sure you all know who I am, but just in case, I'm Susan, and we're running this first inaugural Mars Academy USA Nepal mission, and we're very excited to have everybody on board that's been invited into this teleconference. So the first thing I'm going to do is just some housekeeping is please mute your mic and your video if you're not speaking. And if you are, put on your video because we like to see your face when you're talking. And secondly, this is going to be a 2-hour meeting, and we're going to do a hard stop at 4 o'clock. So the first thing I'm going to ask is someone to step up and be the timekeeper and actually give us 30-minute call out so that we can all be, cognizant of the time. So who is the first one to volunteer for that role? Somebody?
I can do that. That's fine. This is Sarah.
Sarah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so like every 30 minutes, you can just say, gently say, oh, okay, it's 1:30, it's, and so that we can do a hard stop. Thanks, Sarah, for volunteering. So the first thing I'm going to say is, I'm very honored that all of you, whether you're in the crew or in the support teams, the medical support team, to really show your enthusiasm, your passion and interest to be a part of this first mission, our first mid-fidelity mission that we are going to deploy in a few weeks. And just a quick background on, how this evolved was I think about 10 years ago, I came down with the concept of building the Mars Clinic. And that was 10 years ago. And some point in time, I will share that with you. I actually have it all down in one slide, this vision of building the Mars Clinic of the future. But even 20 years before that, I literally had a clinic here in Los Angeles. It was the very first of its kind, an integrated telehealth clinic that was trying to innovate with technology that today we really like starting to adopt on a commercial scale. But back then, nobody even heard of telemedicine or even avatars, even the word avatar. So I was trying to bring in clinicians not even just to be part of like a surgery or anything, but to just communicate and have conferences in the Second Life platform, which today is now Sansar, and come in as avatars. Of course, that was so early, pioneering, in its vision that, people didn't really take it on at that time. I was too early. Anyway, coming back to today, 20 years later, would you believe that we're actually going to be deploying the first mid-fidelity mission in analog astronautics, in full sim, to an austere environment as no one's really done before, that focuses on medicine and exponential technologies. And that's why I'm really excited that all of you are interested and want to be part of this. At the same time, most of you have already have worked together in a mission through MAU or through MDRS or through the high seas, because it's not a very big community. Although this year, I'm going to make it the year of the analog astronaut. So some way, point in time, we have all intersected directly or indirectly with each other. So I'm so excited that you're part of this. And so let's start. Everybody received the agenda. And I know it was very detailed, but that was the reason. It was for completeness more than anything else. So let's start with the introduction in our agenda. You should have that in front of you. And I think you've got an overview of, the different support teams that will be part of this mission. And I have to say that this is our first time creating this out there. So there will be challenges, technical, physical, logistic. But I think if you can think that this could be one of the first early missions of astronauts going to be deployed to Mars, then they would be facing all these challenges to be able to manage and to build the infrastructure, the architecture, not just the base camp, but everything, and to manage the mission. So we can think of it along those lines. The second thing is this is going to be a multi mid-fidelity training program we're curating that we envision deploying several times a year. And then eventually 2020, we will actually then expand this to go to Everest Base Camp. So with that said, you are all part of this, very helping to curate this and to be actually not just from behind the scenes, but will be hands-on, and everybody will have an opportunity to be part of the crew at some point along the way. So let's start with introductions, and I want to be cognizant of time. We should all be. So I want to give everybody at least 2 minutes to introduce themselves. So please excuse us, if we interrupt you and say, your 2 minutes nearly out, because we really want to keep track of time. So with that, since Sarah, you are the timekeeper, may I ask you to also be the one to keep the 2 minutes introduction? If not, I can assign somebody else.
No, that's fine. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So you have the agenda, and so we're going to start with the crew. And so just go along with the agenda that we sent you, and 2 minutes each person, following the names on the list. There are a few people that are not joining this session because this is a international team, so it's just time zones and things like that. So, well, we're going to start with the crew personnel. So let's start with Commander, Dr. Karan-Gatora.
Oh no, I'm upside down. No. Let's sort that out. Hold on a sec. Hold on.
It's okay, we're at microground.
Right.
I like your sense of humor.
There we go. Hi everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name's Karan-Gatora. So very honored, very privileged to be chosen and asked to be commander of this mission. A little bit of background about myself. So I'm a medical doctor of 10 years. I work in the UK, just outside of London. I'm a GP by trade, but I also do a lot of kind of pre-hospital emergency care. So events, motorsport, sort of my interests. Was in Nepal actually in 2017 on charity work. Love the country, really great place. And yeah, just very much looking forward to working with you all, either directly or indirectly with the support teams. Yeah, I will give my apologies now. I actually have to leave in an hour's time, unfortunately. It's quite late over here in the UK. I've got to be up quite early, but so my apologies for that. But that's me done. Yeah, let's move on.
Thank you, Karan. Commander Karan. Next.
I believe that is me.
Hi, Tom.
Thomas. It's very early in the morning here in Australia. Although not actually, I just work late. I'm also a medical doctor, a lot newer than Karen. I started work 4 weeks ago, so very fresh as far as the medical side of things go. I've been involved in a few other different projects. I did a research year looking at building a brain-computer interface with EEG. I also spent 18 months working on a Mars rover, and with a group of people that I founded, some friends at university, which was pretty great. Really looking forward to the mission. Be good fun. Should learn lots of things, lots of new challenges, new skills, new ideas. Yeah, I don't have much else to say.
Thank you, Tom. Next is myself. I think you all know who I am. So, you know, I've been doing, I was trained in allopathic medicine. I didn't like it. I went into research medicine, went to a National Cancer Institute, did molecular medicine, therapeutics, drug discovery. That was great. Then I just wanted to be able to expand my interest, and I fell into space medicine and then into astronautics. So, you know, it's not spring chicken. So it's been going on. Oh, let me put myself on video, sorry. So I've been doing this for like decades, and well, not analog astronautics. So here's where my passion is, but also with exponential technologies, having coming out of ISU, International Space University, and Singularity University. So I'm very much a creator, innovator. I like to push the envelope. I like to not only create and use my imagination, but I like to bring on people. That's kind of my skill. Is that I really enjoy finding brilliant minds, people who take the courage to try to reconstruct new paradigms or construct new paradigms, new models of existence, and put them together. And this is kind of what I really, really love doing, because I'm a very people person. And so it's not just about the science, it's really about the human interaction, about us as humanity here on Earth, and how we can expand ourselves out further into the universe. So, I mean, that's who I am, and I'm very excited to have everyone there and to be part of this, because it's not just about me. I'm trying to build a universal village to build this vision for us. So thanks so much. Next person, you're welcome. Next person.
I think that's me. Yes. I'm
yes.
not sure.
Yes.
So I'm Sarah Jane Pell. I'm also waking up in Australia at the moment. I'm an artist, and I've created a practice that has looked at exploring, I guess, extreme performance. So how we perform and express ourselves in moments of discovery, in moments of challenge, particularly in austere environments. And I've rather unusually looked firstly at developing a practice underwater as a commercial diver. And that led to the translation, I guess, from sea to space. So I've worked, I also studied at the International Space University and Singularity University. And I've been involved in space analog missions, also spacesuit testing and validation flights and so on. And a lot of human robotic interaction and gesture controlled performance for particularly moon-related mission planning and scenarios, usually underwater, but also on land. Like Karen, I have been to Nepal. I was there in 2015 and went to Everest Base Camp, and had actually devised a mission, an analog mission, if you like, to summit Everest, but got caught in the Nepal earthquakes. So me joining you, I will be coming with those memories as well, and looking forward to both paying my respects, but also, I guess, re-engaging with the landscape in a really different way. For all kinds of missions, I try to bring my practice. I try to bring a focus on technology, science, and the arts mutually. So you'll find that that will come up in almost everything that I do. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. I'm very, very honored to have you on board, as well as everybody else in this crew. So next is Janet. Hi, Janet.
Hi, how are you? I'm Janet Biggs, and I'm moving into the evening here in New York City. I'm also an artist, and like Sarah Jane, I have not just a fascination, but an obsession with understanding how someone maintains a sense of themselves within an extreme. And I use the extreme both in terms of location, but also in terms of situation. So I have filmed works inside of active volcanoes in Indonesia, in the high Arctic. I have done a lot of science and art expeditions where the confluence of the two disciplines are sometimes awkwardly, sometimes inspired in their intersection. My work is primarily film, video installation. I do some photography and some performance, but I'm really interested in an immersive experience for the audience. So often I'll do multiple screens in a gallery situation or museum where you walk in and are completely immersed. And my interest in introduction to space actually started in the Horn of Africa. I was on an expedition with the Ethiopian army and the local Afar militia, and I was watching Yemeni refugees coming across, and all of these watching human movement in pursuit of hope and new possibility. And I thought, if that's one, and especially the refugees, I thought if that is what one end of the spectrum looks like, what does the other end of the spectrum look like in terms of human movement in pursuit of hope? And that took me, in my mind, to the Mars Project, and started with MDRS participant as a resident there, artist resident, and I've been thanks and I'm thrilled to be part of this expedition and mission. Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. Thank you so much. I like that, Sarah, the hand gesture. We can actually be incorporating hand gesture, non-verbal communication in this upcoming mission here in Los Angeles next week. So I love that. All right, so next person is Saran. Hi, Saran. Is Saran? Yes or no? Hi. Hi,
Hello,
Saran.
everybody. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's 4 a.m. in the morning in Kathmandu, Nepal right now. I have to tell you that I'm extremely honored and privileged to be in this team, and although I'm not academically qualified to be in this mission, but I will definitely try to use my expertise to make this mission an interesting one. So a little bit about myself. I'm a trek and expedition guide leader, and I also have a company called High on Life Adventures here in Nepal. And I've been working in this profession for the last 20 years. And I've done many treks in India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Tibet, and also organized and guided up to 7,500 meters mountain, around 35 expeditions. So this, after studying a little bit about what this mission is, I'm very much interested to it because it looks somewhat like a climbing expedition base camp. So, and also it's a whole new world for me. So it's a challenge, and I'm very interested to work with this. Yeah, so yeah, I'll try to use my expertise to make this. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Saran. And also he's so humble, and I'm so honored to be partnering with High on Life Adventures with Saran and Christina, who is the other co-founder and is Saran's wife. And we will be working to continue curating this mid-fidelity program, curriculum training, as well as the Everest Base Camp for the 2020 missions. So this is going to be a long-term relationship with you. Oh, I should actually put myself on video and talking, Saran. So we are very, very excited as we keep moving forward with building this vision with partnership with Higher Life Adventures. And as you could hear, Higher Life is so, I mean, they've been doing tracks to Nepal and Everest since 2004, right, Saran? So we're in good hands to deploy particularly this first mission. So thank you so much. You're welcome. I just like this crew, and I like this community that we built under MAU, because it's about collaboration and being open to ideas. But I think on the deeper level, it's about respect for each other, and it's also about being humble. And you know, and I think that's when you can really build that family connection, Martian family connection, or just human relationship. It says if you're humble and if you're open to ideas. And I think that everyone here in this community, I've had the privilege to work with and interact with, and I'm honored. So thank you, Saran. And by the way, Saran is the crew AI. We'll talk a little bit about his role. It's going to be very, very specialized. And so at this point, let's continue. We will go back to the roles and, assigned roles, as you could see in the agenda. But let's continue the introduction. And now we're going to actually transition to, oh dear, my agenda page just shut down. Give me a second. So we're going to transition to the Remote Medical Support Team, which the acronyms we're going to use now is RMST. So every time we say RMST, you know who we're referring to. And I'm very, very honored to actually have Dr. Ashok, who was, as you could see in the agenda, he's already a graduate of our low fidelity mission, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. He will be our assigned flight surgeon. And maybe just for the sake of completeness, maybe Ashok, you can give a brief definition of what the flight surgeon is in a mission. Do we have Ashok? Oh yes, I see you. Can you hear us? Hello, Ashok? I see you we can't hear you. Your mic is unmuted, I see, but we cannot hear you. So, try again. No, we can't hear you. So maybe we'll let you try to figure out the technical side on your side, and we can move on. And we'll get back to you, Ashok, since we just want to be cognizant of time. So figure out how to get the audio going. Well, you're mute now. Let me try one more time to unmute you. Okay, let's see. Unmute. So Ashok, your mic is muted. So is it on your side? Because I'm trying to unmute you, and it won't, and I can't do it. All right. Well, let's just continue. I hope he can speak because he's going to give a presentation. Okay, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Well, let's just continue because I really, really, really want to keep this on track. So once you can get the technical resolved, and Ashok would love to hear from you. So let's move on to the next person in the medical support team. That's Dr. Aziz Guerra. Hi, Aziz. Aziz.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh, hi, Aziz. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, I am a physician from Mexico. I get my medical degree here in Mexico. Then I do a master in aerospace medicine. I get involved in two missions of Mars Academy USA and also help to develop some protocols. And I have been working like 2 years here in Mexico in the internal medicine department and emergency room. So I think it's cool.
You have another minute. Maybe you can just say, what you're going to be overseeing, which is
Okay.
I mean, just one more minute, and then
Okay.
don't do a deep dive into the study. But we have 1 minute.
Okay. I'm working with Susan and all the crew about the nutritional protocols and how to improve and get better ways to improve the performance, not only the physical, but also the mental without a nutrition program. So it can help the crew to improve their performance.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aziz. He will actually give a deeper dive into the study. Let me put myself on video. Thanks so much, Aziz, and for that. And let's move on. Ashok, have you managed to resolve your audio? No? Okay, let's continue. So Jeremy Sage, I think most of you know him, and those who have been in his, he was Commander Crew 1114, but Jeremy is an MD in France. He's from France, and he's also an instructor in zero-G. In the zero-G, he's done over 500 parabolas. And but he is very much an advocate for Mars exploration and humans to Mars. So he was involved with our teleanesthesia, telesurgery project as well, our study, and presented at the IAC. And I think some of you who are IAC actually met Jeremy. So he won't be joining today because actually he's on French TV today, being interviewed, but he's definitely on board with supporting this mission, and he will join the next Nepal mission later in the year. But he has been to Nepal. He was part of what Karan was doing, was part of the medical, oops, we have some music, part of a medical expedition out there a few years back. So let's move on to the next person. So that was Jeremy that I wanted to give a little introduction to him. So who's next on the yes?
Just a time check. So that's half an hour in. We've got an hour and a half left.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I like that. We had the timekeeper assigned in our last meeting, and there was no timekeeping, so we all ran over time. Well, that was rather like,
that was the music.
Oh, okay, I like that. All right. So next we have Maria, Dr. Harney. Is she in the meeting? I think you are, Maria. You're on the phone. I see you.
Trying to figure.
Hi there.
Oh my God, here I am. Hi guys, it's my doggy. I'm as a part of the remote team. I'm in a very remote location right now. I'm in the mountains currently, heading to work. It's Southern California. Here's the middle of the day. So a few words about myself. I graduated from Medical University, and I'm an MD in psychiatry, and I've been a commander of mission crew 1117 with Mars Academy USA, and I joined 2 other missions. My duty is to oversee the well-being of the crew, and I particularly enjoyed the programs, protocols, and astro wellness programs that we developing and implementing in the missions. I'm a certified diver, and I really love water, and I think that skill is also very applicable to the missions and some research that we're doing. I've been to Nepal once, and I loved it so much, and I would love to come back probably as part of the missions in a future years. But I'm very honored to be part of the first mission as a remote team, and I'm so grateful to have Susan to have me on board and to meet you all. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Maria. I'll see you tomorrow.
Of course.
But Maria is very much part of developing, well, overseeing the psych of issues, and we will be talking more in the next meeting about what psychological tools we'll be implementing that you're all going to fill out and during the mission as well. So we'll go into a deeper dive with that. But definitely Maria is very much an integral part of MAU and working with us in that area to be able to expand. And we're also very interested in developing a subspecialty of psychiatry, which will be, and we're innovating. Remember, I said we're about innovation, trying to develop astropsychiatry as a discipline at some point. So we're very, very much pioneers with that, and we're just at the starting phase. Go ahead, Maria. You have another 30 seconds or a minute.
I was just saying, is an yeah.
I think we're losing connection. It's the time delay. She's on her way to Mars. So thanks, Maria. Thanks so much for that, and I will see you tomorrow with the team. But let's move on. And do we have Ashok, our flight surgeon? Ashok, have you managed to resolve your audio? Aikidos. No. Have we lost Ashok?
Susan, Ashok is just using chat.
Wow, that was interesting. We have a huge reverb delay. He's using chat. Okay. So Ashok, would you be able to present your PowerPoints with chat? Hello? Can somebody type in the chat with Ashok? Is he going
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so welcome on board. We can hear you now, but we can't see you, but we can hear you for sure. Oh, there we go. Hello, yes.
Okay, I had some technical difficulties, sorry.
Don't worry, we're going to be getting a lot of that in Nepal, so it's good that you resolved it. So welcome on board, and yes, please introduce yourself, maybe give a brief description what a flight surgeon is, just for the sake of those, but I'm sure everybody here understands what flight surgeon role is in this analog mission. So go ahead, Ashok.
This is Ashok Narayanamurthy. I am an aerospace medicine specialist for the past 10 years. I work as a flight surgeon in Oman. Right now it is around 2:45 a.m. for us. The daily duties of a flight surgeon is like maintain the crew health, plan for the mission, and treat them whatever they are having. But as a remote flight surgeon, I'll be telling you like preparing you for the mission, and then prepare the crew surgeon for the mission. I started working in the space medicine field since 2013. I started with the NASA Human Research Program, Moon, Mars, and Near Earth asteroid mission. Then moved to Oman with the Royal Air Force of Oman. It's been 5 years now, and I've been part of analog astronautics since past 2 years. I'm very excited and happy to join the crew.
Oh, thank you, Ashok. I think we only have one person, of course, this wonderful Dr. Carlos, to introduce themselves, and then we will go in straight away because it's so, it's 2:45 in the morning for you. So I would like you to dive straight away, Ashok, into the your PowerPoint presentation if possible. Would that work for you?
Yeah, it should be fine. Can you run through the slides for me? I can talk through the presentation.
Okay, then I'm going to, so I have to do that while Carlos. So let me then introduce Dr. Carlos Saligrup. Carlos, are you there? I can see you in the list. Can you hear us? Carlos.
All right.
Hi, Carlos. How
Hi,
you
how are
doing?
you?
Well, you got 2 minutes, maybe a little bit more. We're going to open up and download Ashok's presentation.
Yeah,
But go
okay.
ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so really quick, I'm Carlos Saligrup. I'm a
Oops.
Space Medicine School in Dayton, Ohio. That's the NASA-sponsored program at Wright State University. And then I had the chance to stay working there a little bit in Cape Canaveral with the medical team and with the rescue team as well. Then I came back to Mexico and I completed the requirements to be certified in Mexico as an aerospace medicine specialist. And then I'm also a professional pilot in a Boeing 737 MAX, a new generation 737's commander, captain and commander and flight commander. And I have been flying for the last 20 years of my life. I'm also an advanced diver and preparing for my test for rescue diving. I have been diving like for a while now. I love also deep diving, so I'm having fun now in the Cortez Sea of Mexico. I'm also a racetrack doctor, and right now in the racetrack in Mexico City, we have the E-Formula race. So today we have the qualifications, and then tomorrow we have the race. And I have also been involved with several mission remote team and also as mission commander and astronaut for the Poland Mars analog simulation and with Mars Academy as well. So I'm really glad to be part of this team. I'm sorry I could not be there this time for the mission in Nepal, but well, I will be pushing it for the next mission to be there with you guys.
Thanks, Carlos. Thanks so much. Yeah, you're always part of our family anyway, and so I would love to have you join the next mission. I know that it was just timing, but definitely. So, so thank you for introduction, and we're going to move to, I think we have now to the remote support and scientific team, but it looks like that Jay, who is our flight director, is not here. And so maybe can somebody explain what a flight director is in less than 30 seconds? Your elevator pitch. Somebody come up with a definition of flight director. Anyone? Okay. Well, the flight director is the person that actually is running the mission, right? So if the mission fails, it really is, in a true sense, a flight director is the person that's not in the crew per se, but will be running, actually have the responsibility and the task to manage the whole mission, right? So normally the flight director will be based at the Mission Control Center. So here, NASA, the space agency, you know, that's what the flight director is. And the failure in mission is on his shoulders. So he makes the final decision of everything that happens during the mission, right? So in these analog situations, simulation training, the flight director is remote, is not part of the crew, but everything goes past him or her to make the final decision too. Excuse me, hair in my mouth. And so Jay will be our flight director, and in our next meeting, we'll definitely have him on board to introduce himself. But Jay is also an integral MAU executive team. He oversees the digital marketing and promotion and sales for MAU. His background is in digital marketing, and he also has started several startups, so he's an entrepreneur, fits very well in our whole vision of MAU. So that's Jay. Melissa and I think Jaslyn, that you could see they're bringing on their studies. And we will probably have them in the next meeting when we really go a deeper dive into overviewing the internal projects and studies we're going to be interacting with. So then we have wonderful Ksenia Benefon, and Ksenia is going to be the commander of this upcoming crew next week, but she was in the last crew 1120. So Ksenia, hi, I'm going to give you the microphone so you can talk about yourself. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ksenia Benefant, and I was part, as Susan mentioned, I was part of the last mission, crew 1120, and I will be commanding the upcoming mission that's starting next week, which is crew 1121. And the reason why I'm here today is I'm going to be on a remote team conducting a virtual reality conflict resolution training. So my partner and I have designed training that's done completely within virtual reality. And my background is in systemic design and strategic foresight and innovation, and bringing people together from different disciplines and different backgrounds who are coming together to come up with an innovative product or project or a new system, and helping them to go through a process to better collaborate and to work together. So based on that, I've designed some modules to help people resolve conflicts before they come up. And so we tested the first module, we tested it during the last mission. We'll be testing a new iteration of this conflict resolution module in the upcoming mission that's starting next week. And we'll be bringing kind of the finalized virtual reality training for you for Nepal. Usually these are done right before the mission itself, so you'll probably be doing this in pre-sim. Hello. You'll probably be doing this in pre-sim and learning some of the techniques, and then we'll be asking you throughout the mission and monitoring you on how you are learning, whether or not you've actually connected with the principles that you've learned. And I think my time is up, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ksenia. I'm really looking forward to having you command this upcoming mission next week, and Janet is also in this coming mission too, so it'll be really interesting, and I'm just looking forward to it. And then a few days later, Janet and I will fly out to Nepal and meet everybody in the crew there. So thanks so much, Ksenia. Okay, so what we're going to do is with the agenda, just because I'm very cognizant of time difference, and Dr. Ashok, it's really late or early in the morning. So I'm going to go straight to Dr. Ashok, who's going to, and let me share, who's going to give and he worked on this wonderful presentation that will actually give you a fuller, deeper dive into the medical protocols, the rescue, and so on and so forth. So Ashok, I'm going to hand over the mic to you now. So can everybody see the slides? See the slide? Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
Okay, let me see from beginning. Okay, wonderful. Go ahead, Ashok. Take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Now the crew has been introduced, so I just want to introduce the mission per se. First, everyone needs to be in the same picture, that they have to understand what they are getting into and what the environment is going to do to their body. So can you move to the next slide?
Oh, we'll go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, introduction.
Yeah, I'll be going through these headings. Some of them I will not read through. I'll be rushing through. You can look at it later at a later stage. Next one. So the main location will be, you will be landing in Kathmandu airport in Nepal, and you guys will be moving to Pokhara and from there it will be Lower Mustang. So if you can see, the altitude will be starting with 800 meters and it goes up to 1800 meters, which is approximately 12,000 feet. So it comes under the high altitude definition, which is 1500 to 3500 meters. This is very important in altitude medicine scenario, because this is where most of the things happen. And if you are underprepared or not prepared, then it's going to lead to complications. Next one. So what does the altitude does to your body, and what you will be experiencing, which is a normal physiological phenomena, is you might be having a dyspnea, headache, fatigue, dizziness, sleep disturbance, and there might be a periodic breathing. Not everyone will be experiencing these symptoms, and it will not be in the same order. And everyone will be having their unique set of symptoms. Next slide. So how do we approach this scenario? First, we need to understand one's own self and body. You'll be sending your pre-mission checklist. So we'll be reviewing your medical history and conditions. Especially, we'll be looking into anemia and what kind of medication currently you are on, and any history of injuries, recent ones, especially fractures, smoking history, alcohol history, age, and your physical and mental fitness. The exercise tolerance, we cannot test it with the questionnaire. Probably the on-site medic will be able to ascertain like whether you will be able to do a task or not. Next slide. So what are the factors that affect your performance during the mission? The high altitude per se has a big impact on your performance. The first one is hypoxia, and the second one is hypothermia. Everyone knows as you increase in ascent, that means the increase in height, you'll be having less and less of air, and you'll be having less of oxygen, and the temperature also drops in. So it might lead to the symptoms which I explained it to earlier, and I'll briefly touch upon high altitude physiology in the coming slide. What the simulation can induce an performance issue. The first main thing is fatigue, because you'll be like flying into a new territory, and there is a conference prior to your simulation, so there will be a lot of fatigue. There might be sleep disturbances, which is a major factor. The jet lag or the biological clock, I put it as a separate because it has like ramifications. The fatigue might lead to exhaustion, and since you are isolated with a limited contact with the outer world, there might be some psychological issues, which Dr. Maria will be looking into. Next slide. So I have been working in high altitude for the past 6 to 7 years. I had worked on world's highest ATC, the air traffic center in India. So I was mainly focusing on the pilots who used to fly rescue missions, who come from the sea level, like how to acclimatize them rapidly into the higher altitudes. So the Lake Louise is a consensus on the definition for the altitude sickness, or we call it as an acute mountain sickness. It has two major effects. The first one is the pulmonary and the cerebral. These are very important because it might lead to high altitude pulmonary edema and high altitude cerebral edema, which are really dangerous conditions. This is certainly caused by the higher altitude. So the main treatment is you climb down and you have rest, you maintain your fluids, and there are some other medical management too, which myself and Karan will be discussing through. Next slide. The major symptoms of HAPE and haze I mentioned in the slide. Just go through it so that these are the danger symptoms. You have to report it to your crew health and safety officer and the crew surgeon, which will be the commander. Next one. So the oxygen hemoglobin curve is the single and most important medical aspect, which will show you what is happening to your body and how your body is trying to cope up. So this curve shows you how the interaction between oxygen dissociation with the amount of hemoglobin and the factors being affecting this mechanism. As you can see, the altitude and the temperature is already in the curve. So you have almost all the factors which might affect your normal physiology. That's why you have to keep in cognizance of what is going on around you and what is going within your body. Next slide. Next slide. So how do we mitigate the risk? This is by careful selection and planning. We have already put in a lot of effort. Susan has put in a lot of effort in selecting the crew based on their background and training of the crew. This starts with knowing about what are the conditions, and you already have your crew guide in Nepal. He's already acclimatized and he'll be taking care of you. This presentation is just to give you an awareness of what you are getting into, and the main thing is what the pre-acclimatization and the acclimatization, what you are going to do just prior to the mission and during the pre-sim. So and there is a medication or a drug aspect which can speed through these acclimatization procedure. Once we go through all your medical history and current medications, all the medical personnel in the team will take a decision which protocol should be suggested to the respective crew member, and with their consent, we can proceed with that process. Next slide. So there are various methods of pre-acclimatization, but the main thing is your diet. We usually suggest a carbo-heavy diet rather than a fat diet, because fat diet you need more energy to break it down. Please quit smoking or do not have a party after the conference. Don't take the alcohol after the conference. We have to see your medical history. I have not seen through if there is any requirement for a dose modification. I will suggest those, and try to cycle your sleep based on the local timings, based on the Nepal timings, so that you have minimum fatigue and jet lag. And physical fitness is very important. What we suggest is both anaerobic and aerobic training, not just the aerobic training alone. You need to do both aerobic and anaerobic training so that your performance improves. And this is an experimental method, simulated altitudes for 1 to 4 hours. There are like tents which can simulate higher altitudes. What you can get in and out of tents every day for 1 to 4 hours, so that your body adjusts to that high altitude. Your body tries to produce more hemoglobin, or it can efficiently work. And based on your sleep-wake cycle, we can modify these simulated altitudes. But I think like this will not be done for this mission. Maybe the simulated altitudes will be planned for the upcoming future missions. Next slide. Climb high and sleep low is the main important thing for acclimatization. Like you have to have certain set of goals, and when you are going from Pokhara to Lower Mustang, the crew guide will be able to give you what will be the altitude for every day, so that you can trek along the path and reach the final destination. So usually we need a 10 to 12 days of acclimatization with appropriate working schedule. This is without medication, but if we use medication, there are different types like acetazolamide or a steroid. We can cut this down to even less than 48 hours. But the final target altitude is the one which is going to decide the duration of acclimatization. This we will decide after discussing with Susan and the crew guide. We used to follow the Indian Armed Forces schedule, but there are different schedules. We'll see like which one is more applicable. So we have a plan like what will be the physical activity for day 1 and 2, day 3 and 4, and day 5 and 6. And the initial 4 to 5 days is very important. This is when there is a higher chance for getting acute mountain sickness. So once you have crossed the 72 hours, then the chance becomes lesser and lesser, and you will be already like acclimatized and able to show your potential in the simulation. Next slide. There will be plan to carry enough oxygen cylinders, and these will be your common drugs which would be used during the simulation. The analgesics will be paracetamol and ibuprofen, whichever like you prefer, or if you're allergic to these, we have alternates. Acetazolamide is the wonder drug for high altitude medicine. So I generally prefer this to be started at least 24 hours prior to the ascent, so that like your body acclimatizes to the higher altitude easily. Dexamethasone is an injection, so we have to take a decision whether we need it or not. And the local tea which is available in Nepal is really good stimulant, and it helps in preventing the acute mountain sickness. So other than this, I would like to let you know that everyone should be like having vaccination to the communicable diseases like hepatitis. If you have not done it, like you can start the hepatitis B vaccine now. Now is the time. And there is a higher incidence of malaria in Nepal. Not in the lower Mustang region, but it's in the Nepal. So if you want to start the prophylaxis management, you can start it like just 1 week prior to the 1 week to 10 days prior to the mission, so that like you have the maximum protection during the mission.
Scott, just to briefly interrupt, just to give another time check, so we've been an hour.
Yeah, that's it. That's it from my side. Sorry, it's really late. That's why my voice was breaking, and I have my son on my lap, so I had to monitor him whether he's sleeping or not. So that's why I had to rush through the presentation.
No, that was very thorough, and we're recording this, so we will go over this again at some point in time. But thank you so much, Ashok. That was a really comprehensive, presentation. And like I said, in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably be refining it and doing a deeper dive in certain sections and so on and so forth. Really appreciate that. With that said, then, thanks, Sarah, for the time check. I know, Karan, you said you're going to be leaving soon from the teleconference. So because you're commander, I really want you, before you leave, just to before we transition to the next part of the meeting, allow you a few minutes to say something to the crew and to the teams before you leave today. And obviously, you're going to be interacting with us offline and in the next meeting. Is Karan there, or is he left?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you're not upside down. That's good.
No, I'm the right way up this time. Yeah, no, thanks very much. So yeah, unfortunately I've got to leave, so my apologies for that. But But thanks to Ashok for that. And I think the first thing that I'd probably do is just go into a little bit more detail about the just some of the things that I'd want to bring on board from the medical aspect side of things. So just to expand on the malaria side, so advice is changing all the time, but last time I was in Nepal, it was only the lower Terai regions, which is kind of in the south of the country, where you really needed to have kind of malaria prophylaxis. So the best, advice I can probably give is seek the advice of a local travel clinic, see what they say. I know my local travel clinic has told me that, the advice still stands as it was back then in 2017, and that I don't need malaria prophylaxis, but that's the advice I've been given. The second thing that I just want to say is that from my perspective as commander, the first and foremost priority for me is going to be safety. And I know that we've already touched on a couple of things in terms of medical safety. And we've got Saran on board, who's going to be a local guide, who's going to be incredibly knowledgeable about the local area. And so if there are going to be any issues, me and Susan and everyone are working very, very hard just to make sure that everything is very well planned out, to the degree that if anything in the rare event were to happen, we've got very structured, very robust sort of protocols in place that we can activate very quickly and just do what we need to do. Having said that, part of what I would like to do with the crew, particularly when we fly out to Johnson, is to actually undergo sort of a simulation. This is separate from many of the protocols. And this would be just to essentially go through what would happen if an emergency were to arise in the medical sense. So we would run that simulation. We would activate the protocol that we have in place in a simulation fashion. And as part of that, I'd like to just get, we'd like to do a bit of training, make sure everyone's comfortable with kind of basic sort of life support procedures. Also kind of log rolling, that's where you're moving patients. And if we have to actually even carry someone, the protocols and procedures and how we actually do that as well. So those are just a few kind of ideas and thoughts that are coming through from my perspective. And as I said, safety is probably the number one thing that we're going to be focusing on. Obviously, there are going to be objectives that everyone is going to be bringing on board. And with each team member, that's why, it'd be great if we can just catch up, have an individual chat, because it's an opportunity for us to get to know each other a bit more on a bit of an individual basis. But also it's an opportunity for me to understand what your personal goals are, because I want to ensure that as well as your personal goals being fulfilled, those of all of the protocols that are coming on board and MAU are fulfilled as well. So there's a fair few things that I've just gone over there. But essentially those are kind of the processes that are going to be going on in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we'll have some more information very soon about that. I don't think that's it really, Susan. There's nothing else that I need to say at this stage. So I shall leave you guys to it from here, I think.
Well, thanks, Dr. Ashok and Commander Ashok. We actually are recording this, so I'm going to send this and share it with you, and then you and I are going to have another offline meeting with Ashok, Dr. Ashok being the flight surgeon, and then the three of us will actually, talk in a deeper dive into this area, along with Saran, of course, Saran. And actually, so I know it's very late for you, your meeting. So thanks so much for, at least being able to make it for this hour. And I will connect with you later tonight. And yes, everybody should have actually contacted Commander, if you're in the crew, to have a one-on-one with me and Commander Karan. So if you haven't, please reach out to him. We've already got the dates for most of you, but I just think there's a few of you, I'm not quite sure who hasn't. But please do that, because we do want to be able to set that up for at least next week. But in the meantime, Karan, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. And thanks so much. There's a lot to do and cover, but we'll get it done. Take care. Bye. All right. So with that said, that was wonderful. Let's transition. I think we have Jay, our flight director. Jay is in the meeting now, so this will be an opportunity for him to introduce himself. And so, Jay, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the team here. Can you hear us?
Sorry.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
I lost track of time.
No worries.
So I
Are you
apologize.
able to put yourself on video so so everybody can see your beautiful face?
Okay.
Or have we lost total communication? Because I just
Cheese shop, so you'll see cheese behind me. Hold on.
there you go. Hi.
Can you see my
Yes, we can. We can see you.
it's really bad now.
We can see you. Maybe there's a lag. There seems to be a lag. Well, now we seen you, but then if there's some issue with the bandwidth on your side, you can just take yourself off video and we'll just have audio. Jay? I think he is having issues. So while he tries to resolve the technical issue, we will continue. And then at any point that you come back on, Jay, please speak up and then we'll allow you to introduce yourself. So I want to actually, because we're covering oh, sorry, let me put myself on video again. So because we're covering the medical and all that, I would like to have Saran to just fill in a little bit of the details from his perspective and through what he's integrated with the High on Life Adventures. Oh, can you hear us? You're on mute, Jay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Okay, sorry about that, Saran.
I have bad connection. Anyway, so I'm Jay. Nice to meet everyone. I know a few of you guys, so I'm grateful to meet some new faces and meet the people I've already met, which I need to still talk with. But I'm Jay. I am on an MAU executive board, and I'm primarily responsible for the digital marketing aspect of the company. And any piece, like once we start putting together any digital experience, you kind of go through it on the online portion of it. I'm primarily responsible for the strategy and implementation of it. And I also help in other areas for operations and wherever Susan needs it. I'm usually there to help whenever I have time for it. But so right now that's my we go now. It feels like a lifetime in a good way, for obvious reasons. But so right now, I do that with MAU. Met Susan a year and a half ago, and I'm in my last semester of my degree at Cal State Fullerton, and I'm getting a degree in business analytics. So yeah, that's kind of like a little super quick overview of who I am, what I do, a little bit of my background, and how I help. It was really super short. I didn't want to, because I know I came in late. I just kind of wanted to give really brief overview of where I am with stuff. So yeah, thanks, Susan. Appreciate it.
Jay, you can you have another minute, so maybe you can say the crew that you've been working in and.
Oh yes, I had the best and most awesome opportunity of being on the MAU Crew 1114. That was my very first experience. Susan's been trying to get me on another one, but my time's not there right now because I have classes and such. But eventually I'll jump on another mission. But that I had it with Maria and Dr. Spock. If you guys know Dr. Spock, Jeremy, Eduardo, who else is on there? Nancy. So those are the people I was on the crew, and then Susan, obviously. That was an interesting experience. That was a fun experience, and I want to do it again. But it was very surreal to say the least, and I really enjoyed it. But I can't wait to go on another one. And Susan wants me to join as a commander next time around. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. So you are the flight director of this mission. So you're going to run.
Yes.
Going to oversee. Maybe give a 10-second what your role in this mission as flight director, overseeing the support the scientific team.
Yeah. So as flight director, I'll be, I guess, taking point on the remote side and make sure everything is good. And you guys have all the pieces you need, and you guys are well taken care of from where we stand, right? So I'll be reviewing all your reports and seeing how you guys are doing over there. But I'm excited. I wish I could be going with you guys, because after Susan told me about Nepal, I was like, I want to go, but next time. So yeah, I'm going to be responsible for the ground support on this end.
Right. Thank you so much, Jay, for that introduction. And yeah, well, I'm going to see you tomorrow with Maria anyway, so with Rena. So
yes, I'm excited. That's going to be fun.
Okay. And we can talk more, of course. So Jay will be overseeing the mission with the support side, and he will be, when we're obviously going to have technical issues with daily report sending, but we'll try to navigate that and find ways to overcome that. But Jay will be the flight director and receiving all our reports and throughout the mission. So with that said, thanks so much, Jay. I'm cognizant of time. It's 3:13 on my computer here. So we're doing pretty well. So with that said, I want to go back to continuing a little bit of the medical side, because I think exactly what Karan and Ashok, and I'm sure most of us being, clinicians, it's also, safety is number one. That's priority for us. So it's good for us to do a deeper dive into that, to really understand, what are the protocols and procedures that we will implement. So with that said, because Saran has been, deploying many missions there where we're going, he's very, very, very familiar with that whole region and with, taking tracks and expedition teams. So Saran, maybe you could fill in a little bit more in terms of the High on Life Adventures, your company, what kind of safety mechanism that you have implemented and developed over the years for taking expeditions up to Mustang and to Everest. Would you just give us a little bit overview, a few minutes of that?
Hello again. Yeah. Just as Dr. Ashok had suggested an itinerary that when we go to a certain level, we should take a couple of days of acclimatization. So we also have the same this itinerary for our mission too. Since from Pokhara, we will be flying directly to around 9,000 feet to Jomsom, so we have 2 days of acclimatization there. There are plenty of small hills that we can make a slow ascent and most importantly, take rest in. So that's how we get to, on the 3rd day after reaching Jomsom, we will reach base camp. And Susan has already given me a setup of how our base camp should be. And since this is for the first time that I am organizing this kind of expedition, so we'll try our best to make the same kind of setup in the base camp. Of course, we'll have to improvise a little bit because we don't find exactly the same kind of tents and things in Nepal, but we will make the best use of what we have here. And so in terms of safety, what we always do is when we go to high altitude treks, we carry oxygen cylinders. It's a Poisk 3-liter cylinder, which goes, if you are using it around 2 liters an hour, you can use it for around 5 to 6 hours approximately, depending on what altitude you are. So we have 2 bottles of that, which will be enough for us to buy time to get another form of evacuation. So in this area, we have jeeps, so we can easily be evacuated to Jomsom, where you have a limited medical facility. But then again, from there we can take a helicopter, or if the situation is serious, then we can call the helicopter right to the site of where the problem or accident or whatever had happened. So please make sure that all of you have insurance which covers helicopter evacuations. And other than that, we also carry hyperbaric chambers, which we commonly call here as gamma bag, which especially in cases of pulmonary edema and cerebral edema, if a person have that, then we put them into that bag and we pump put a barometer inside and try to decrease the altitude as much as like 1500 meters or 2000 meters. Sometimes it's possible to. 1500 meters is good enough to what that's how we do in our expedition. And of course we'll be working on the guidance of our remote safe health instructors and doctors and everything. So this is how our safety, that's how we take care of the safety issues.
Thank you, Saran. We will go into much more detail at some point in time, probably in the next teleconference, with regards to actually, sharing the protocols and the procedures, and then we, like as Commander Karan said, we will actually simulate it in pre-sim and the pre-sim days before we embark on the trek to Mustang. So with that said, let's move on to the next part. And I really would just want to, if we go to the agenda, so let me look at the agenda. Let's just quickly go over the architecture of the mission. So the first thing I really want to ask is, Saran, who have you not received their documents in terms of passport application form that you have to have? We've requested everyone to, this is pertaining to the crew, application form that you have to sign, the your passport information, which is on the application form, and any other documents. What's outstanding for you right now, Saran, please? This is important because time is getting short and we need to get those documents out. Saran, can you tell us what's missing?
So let me begin with you, Susan. And I don't know if I missed it or so. From you, I've got your flight details, international arrival and departure, and I've got your passport copy. But the form that the booking form that I haven't got from you, and from Janet, I have received your flight details, but I haven't received your passport copy. And passport copies are very important because without that I cannot book tickets to Johnson or to Pokhara and from Kathmandu, all domestic flights. And from Thomas, I've received your passport copy and your flight details also, but I have not received your booking form. And from Karan, I've received your booking form, and where, of course, I've got your passport number, so that's not, your passport copy is not that important now for at least to book the ticket, but still I will need your passport copy for applying permits and everything. And I have not received your international flight details. And Sarah, you have sent me the PDF document, but I tried to open it. It says it requires a password, so I could not open that document, and I have not received your international flight details.
Okay, so all of that information has been provided, and with the password as well.
Yes.
But you weren't the recipient of that email, so I can forward that on.
Thanks, Sarah. I did send it to him, but I think maybe we didn't give him the password. We forgot. So don't worry about it. If you want to send it to him directly as well, that's great. But otherwise, we could do it. We could, just so that he definitely has that. Yeah, we definitely received all your info as well. So that's something that if you want to do it directly with Saran, that's okay too. So, but he will get all your information. So today. So great, thank you. Right, okay, so with that said, let's go quickly a little bit, not quickly, but let's go to, because remember, we're not going to cover everything, but I want to try to cover some of the most important parts of this for today's meeting, and then we're going to follow up. Mainly for the next meeting will be all the projects, more of the internal ones with MAU. So with that said, I want to share my screen, and we're just going to go over the architecture, the base camp setup, and so let's move on. Hopefully that this. Okay. All right. So can everyone see the screen? Yes. If you can't, just say you can't, and then we'll figure out. If you can, that's fine. Don't have to say any. All right. So normally this is our setup. This is only part of our portable mobile base camp. All of you have signed NDAs under MAU, and there are some aspects of this training mission that's also integral to our R&D and trademarks. So you've signed the NDAs, and so therefore we're able to talk more freely. But we want to keep some of the knowledge in-house, internal to us. And there are collaborators who are bringing on their technology that is, working in partnership with us to develop. So that's also, under IP. So there are aspects of this we have to be very cognizant about, that we don't, post this or share the information. So with that said, this is a part of our mobile portable base camp, which is the vision that we had thought about over 10 years ago. How do we set up base camp, do simulations, and go anywhere, wherever, and be able to configure according to the region. So this is kind of a setup, a very small aspect of the setup that we deploy here in Mojave. This is the Mojave Desert, but also in other areas of outside Los Angeles in our low fidelity training here in Soledad Canyon. And these are connecting pods that connect the tunnels and so on and so forth. And they can expand and there are another side, I'll show you in the next slide, of the space clinic concept, which I told you at the beginning of the meeting. This was like 10, 20 years ago to come up with the vision of developing a Mars clinic or space clinic. All right, the problem is the logistics of getting this all over to Nepal for this mission. So we're not going to be using this, but we're using the concept, right, for this mission. So before I say any of that, this is kind of like what we do in the low fidelity, which have a huge dome tent. This is about 16 to 18 feet in diameter. We do a lot of our medical telesurgery, anesthesia in this dome tent, which is the analog of our vision of building a Mars clinic or space clinic, on a planetary surface. And it's connected with our pod tents. So, I'm just wanting to show you some other aspects. We wanted to also develop the astral wellness, which is part of our, multidisciplinary program, which is really looking at the wellness and well-being of individuals or astronauts eventually, right? But individuals in the crew, and not just the physical wellness, but also the spiritual wellness and all this, the whole integrated approach of medicine, integrative medicine of body, mind, and spirit. So astral wellness, wellness, and well-being is an important integral part of our, program in the training program, but also bringing on innovation to be able to support those ideas. All right. So what Saran and I have talked about, because it's my first time there and I don't know what the conditions are. This is my learning curve as well, full disclosure. We are going to not use those pod tents because I want to see what the conditions are. Saran had conveyed to me it's very, very high winds. And I think the pod tents that we have can withstand high winds, because we went out to the Mojave in the middle of a storm, a huge storm, in Crew 1111, and it survived, but it also was waterproof, because last month we were out there, it was heavy torrential rain, very unusual for California, and it was totally waterproof. There was no leakage of it. So at least it showed me that the pod tents that we have are very, very hardy and sturdy. But I don't want to bring that out there and not having been out there myself. So with that said, with the experience of Saran and his setup base camps, that we're going to build this base camp for us. This is our base camp, and you can see where the sections are. You can see what's the areas are being designated. And I'm sorry we lost all the dimensions, but each of those rectangular are huge tents. They're over 7.5 feet tall, so everyone actually will be able to stand up and walk, and that was very important, right? I don't want any crouching or anything like that. I want you to be able to walk freely, stand up, ambulate, do things, right? So there will be 2 of those rectangular tents that would be connected by simulation tunnels that Saran's going to build. So where I just got lost in this diagram, I don't know why, but the white squares are the connecting tunnels. And each of those rectangular tents are about, and correct me, Saran, if I'm wrong with the dimensions, but width is about 8 feet, 10 feet width by 15 feet length. So they're huge, right? So there's going to be an ample space for us to divide them into 2 or 3 sections for the sleeping area. And those black lines will actually be curtains, black tarp curtains that you can, open up and close, so you can have the separation. Then you have your connecting tunnels, and the connecting tunnels will go into the hilly. If you've done a lot of camping, I'm so Sarah, you have, so you know the Hilliberg huge, tents as well. And those are around about, I think the diameter of that's about 10 feet, 12 feet diameter, and the highest height in the middle is about 7.5 feet as well. So those would be, one would be our airlock, and the other would be the kind of kitchen, but it will be really, it's not a full kitchen. We're going to talk about the food and thing in a minute, how we're going to cook. But it will be also an activity area, wellness, and so on and so forth. Sleeping there, you see they're going to be divided into 3 sections. You will have a section of your own. You're going to share with another person, so 2 per section, and you're going to have, everything be provided. If you want to bring your own stuff, that's fine too, but you'll be provided with a sleeping inflated mattress, and sleeping bags and blankets, and then so on and so forth. So it's everything provided for you there, but if you want to bring your own equipment, because I know some people want to, they like to sleep in their own stuff, then that's fine too. So then you see the connecting tunnel, which is that white block. Should have said tunnel in black. You're going to have a toilet and shower. Now, normally I want this to be a full sim. I want to be because we're looking at human behavior study. We're looking at psychological issues of ICE, which is the acronym for isolation and confined environments. Please tell me if I'm speaking too fast, and I'll slow down, but I'm just being cognizant of time. So if I'm speaking at okay pace and you understand, and then I'll keep at this pace. Otherwise, I'll slow down. So Sarah. Okay, so you will normally, like I said, I want to make this a very hard, very true, authentic simulation that we don't break sim, all right, as much as possible. Unless, of course, we have to with like emergency and injuries and things. Yes, we'll break sim for sure. But if that doesn't happen, then I want to keep this as high fidelity and the simulation as intact as possible. So normally, I always want to say, okay, if you're going to Mars, on the way to Mars, you're on a planetary surface of Mars, then you're going to have limited. Thanks, Sarah. Half an hour left. So you're going to have limited resources. You're only going to use what you have, and that's kind of what the scenario I want to bake into these simulations, especially in the austere environments. When you're going to be going to Everest, which is what we are planning, or to Antarctica, you're only going to get the supplies that you're going to have, right? So anyway, with that said, we will have a toilet, and it will be your camping toilet. And if you haven't camped, then it will be basically a bucket with our doodle bag, and you doodle in there, and then that's it. And in the morning we do engineering check. We won't go through that today. And there will be a waste there. You see the black box in the lower left corner there. That will be there'll be a kind of a waste area where Saran's team will be able to take away the waste every day. So anyway, there will also be a shower, which you're very lucky. You're going to but we're going to only give you 1 shower throughout the mission. So everyone gets, if they want it. I'm not going to have a shower because I want to be authentic in my experience. So if you want a shower, you get 1 hot shower, military style, 2 to 3 minutes in the mission. All right, so how do we get the hot water there? Well, that's where Saran's team is, the porters, the chef. They will actually have a camp built up out of our site, but within communication with us and physical communication as well, that they will be able to do drone drops. So we're going to call these drone drops food, supplies, and bring in hot water for those who have been scheduled the shower that day, right? So that's where you can get your hot water for your shower if you want it. And it will be scheduled for those who want the shower throughout this mission. Then there's the storage area. So this is our base camp. and we keep the integrity. Won't go into a deeper dive. In the next mission, we will, the next meeting, we'll talk more about this. So let's move on. We can leave the questions to the end. This is a slide of the crew and their roles and responsibilities, right? For those, most of us have gone through a analog simulation already. For those who haven't, we will go through this in our next meeting, and I'll send out, also Commander will, information for each role, what your role and responsibilities are, right? We'll go into that in a deeper dive, but I just wanted to show you some of the main roles that are in the crew itself, right? So this is crew commander, medical officer, well, we're going to call you health and safety officer, which is you, Tom, you're the health and safety officer, engineer, as well as the engineer, and so on and so forth, all right? So this is kind of like a typical crew team and their roles. So here is also another slide just to really show you what would be the people in the support teams, right? So remote support team or the remote scientific team. Okay, so we have the most important person, but not the most important person is a flight director, but everybody is important too. Capcom is also important because Capcom is the only person that actually communicates directly with the crew. Capcom. Won't go into that right now, just for you to be cognizant. There are multiple roles. Everybody has responsibilities of when they're assigned that role. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show for today. And this, we already said, this is just an example. This is for our low fidelity. How, just to take away to look at this slide is really how busy the mission will be. And it will be planned out. You will get a mission schedule. We'll go over that in the next meeting. But I want you to understand that is going to be very busy. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to see how you manage your task assignments and also how you work together to ensure that your tasks and other people's tasks are completed within the time allocation and within the schedule, so that, you know, it's really about communication, collaboration, and being able to, you know, work together, right? And also we are looking at human behavior and the psych issue of giving you all these extra stresses, and how do you manage that too? So this is just an example. This is a low fidelity. This is actually for next week for the crew coming in with Janet and Ksenia. But one thing I want you to recognize is the time allocation that's going to be set, which is for the morning. We are definitely going to get up at the time that says here. Every mission is set for 7 o'clock in the morning. That's the start of the day. Everybody gets up at 7. There will be a timekeeper assigned who's going to be, and everyone is going to be a different person every day that's going to be assigned to wake the crew up at 7. And then the breakfast and then the morning brief is that set for every mission. And then the rest is, you know, we'll talk a bit about that next time. But there will be lunch, and then there'll be dinner, and then there'll be afternoon, there'll be the evening briefing. Your daily reporting is very important. Okay, just these are, I'm just giving you some images because it's there. We will be doing telesurgery. This is crew 1111. We've done many of these. This is going to do telesurgery, teleanesthesia, as you could see here. You will be dressed up in full, you know, surgical gowns and equipment, as you could see here, and you will be working together to learn how to do a medical emergency, intubation, anesthesia using 3D printing, vapor jet, which Carlos will probably talk to us if we have time. But anyway, there's something we're not going to be doing is green hab, but this is an example of a green hab and a lot of the things that we're doing in our low fidelity, you know, hydroponics and growing plants, but in Martian soil. But we're not be doing that at this point with Nepal. Oh, okay, so this is certainly what we'll be doing, using VR, AR, and doing yoga, meditation, part of our wellness, and music and dance is all part of it. I just want to show you that, you know, we definitely will be, oops, that's not, that was the old thing. So with that said, I want to stop here because I want to also then go to, hold on, my agenda closed down on me. While I'm looking for my agenda, any questions right now that we've covered? we can have 5 minutes at the end to do 5-10 minutes at the end to have Q&A. So legal documents, travel. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the food and the menu and the cooking. Saran, could you show us the menu you sent me? Can you share that on the screen? Why? Would you be able to do that? So what we're going to do for the cooking aspect is Saran has his own team, right? The porters and the cooks that's going to carry our equipment up for us. So we won't be lugging all the base camp equipment, but we will be carrying our own stuff, because if we're able to, if you're able to, of course. But Saran's team will be doing a lot of the physical carrying and setting up of the base camps. So there will be our base camp, which is going to be called the HAB. So we don't mix it up with Saran's support base camp, right? So our base camp from this point onwards is going to be called the HAB. And when I say the HAB, it will be the crew, base camp, our station. So the HAB is for us. They all set up our HAB for us based on the architecture I just gave you. However, Saran's team is going to build another base camp, maybe half a mile away, or at least within walkie-talkie comms, so we can comms with them. When I say comms, it's a short for communication. So we can comms with them with a walkie-talkie, but they will be our support team. They will be the ones that will supply us with any equipment, food, hot water, whatever we need. They will supply it because they'll have it all there at their base camp. So they will be our remote mission, sort of our mission support center. And the scenario is that there are 2 base camps on the surface of Mars, right? So that's kind of what we're putting in scenario. In reality, of course, they are our lifeline, and they will give us the support that we need, especially in emergencies. That would be activated, and they would know exactly what to do, and bring in the support mechanisms, activate the support mechanisms to be able to do that and give us that. So with that said, were you able to share it, Saran? Okay. So all right, I think at this point it's good to talk about what Saran's role is. He is actually our crew guy, obviously, but he's also going to be the crew AI, the artificial intelligence. So it's going to be built similar to the idea of Star Trek and Star Trek Next Generation, where you have Mr. Data or Mr. Spock, right? So he has special powers that allows him to not have to go through decompression, recompression every time. For the rest of us, we are definitely going to do that, because if you don't do that, you're going to get killed. You're going to kill the crew, right? So the whole goal of this is not to be killed in this simulation. So in the last 2 low fidelity missions, we actually implemented the AI, and I was the AI. So I could actually be able to do certain things that the rest of the crew couldn't do. And then that would be able to, for example, so Saran being the Mr. AI, he's going to be AI, we're going to call him the crew AI. He will be able to exit and enter our HAB without decompression, recompression sequences. So he'll be able to go and be able to collect the food, the water, and so on and so forth. In our scenario, these would be drone drops. That's drone drop EVAs. So we will be telling him, can you go and get the food drone drop EVA, please? Can you conduct that? At the same time, he has to be very careful he doesn't kill us all, because he still has to be able to secure the HAB and so on and so forth, right? So anyway, with that said, in terms of this mission, the food will be primarily cooked by Saran's cooks. We have 2 cooks at the remote base camp. So Saran, if you can share the meal menu, that would be great. I know I saw it. So there is a standard meal that Saran normally supplies for his treks, expeditions. And Saran, would you like to just give a minute of going over this? Saran, hello? Would you be able to just go over the menu? Give it 1-2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not being able to share, but can I just read it?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
I will send it to everyone I'll attach it to our Facebook group.
So this is how our typical menu looks like, and we can choose from that. And at breakfast we have porridge, muesli, cornflakes, eggs, and a choice between toast, pancakes, or hash brown or chapati, which is a local bread, a cheese and canned ham, tomatoes, and jam, butter, of course, peanut butter, honey for the breads and seasonal fresh fruits. And for lunch, we begin with the soup, and we have either pasta or noodles, or rice or Tibetan bread. And with of course, with fresh vegetables and potatoes, either chips or boiled, or how our cook cooks it, and also canned fish and sausages and ham for non-vegetarians, and for vegetarians we will have some extra vegetables and mushrooms and things like that, and salads. And usually at 4 o'clock we have afternoon tea with cookies and dried fruit nuts, and around sorry and we have for dinner we begin with soup, and with soup we have popcorn or papadum or crunchies, and the main course will be either pasta, noodles, rice, potatoes, maybe even pizzas. And with dumplings, we call it momos here. It is a favorite dish in Nepal. And with some fresh vegetables, meat or mushrooms, and then end up with desserts. That's how we do normally in expeditions. And so here we will also choose from that.
Thank you, Saran. So that's kind of a typical menu. Let me put myself back on video that Saran offers. At the same time, at this point, we are also going to bring in some of our own food, and we're going to bring in a new way of cooking that is chemical cooking. So it's called, if you don't know what it is, if you just Google it, it's Magic Chef, using that system. So we're bringing that in, and we're also bringing in our own dehydrated food. We will talk more about the type of food that we're bringing, and and how we're going to cook that, because it's chemical cooking. It's really just breaking this package that then does a reaction with the chemicals in the package, put it in the water, and it superheats the water to very high steam. So it's basically chemical steaming cooking. And that will be interesting to be able to test in this environment. We might also bring in a solar cooker, so we do solar cooking. That's something we're thinking about. Anyway, with that said, there will also be additional food besides what Saran's menu is going to change around and be incorporated. So before I think maybe Jesus can spend a few minutes to talk about the diet and nutrition, what we require of you right now to start doing. But before that, I want to ask, I know, Sarah, you already give us information, but is there anyone here that has, and remember this is an internal group, and so no information will be sent out, but please, if you have any issues with the food, we will send you the menu and the ingredients. You can look at it in your own time. You need to reach out to Saran and to Jesus, myself, if you have any issues with any kind of the ingredients in the food that we're going to eat, right? So that will be sent out to you. So with that said, I want to have Jesus spend two minutes, Jesus, to ask what we need them to do now for the diet and nutrition. The purpose, the objective of this study at this point in time, and what they need to do, because I've sent the information to them. But could you please just spend a couple of minutes to talk about that, Jesus?
Only let me charge the diary.
While you do that, you can just talk over it. What they're required to do right now. They've got all that information. I've sent it to them, the Excel file and everything.
Okay. Well, for this, you need to try to do a food diary. What do you eat in breakfast? If you have snacks.
Jesus, sorry. If you're not sharing any file, can we see your face? We just like to see someone talking. Sorry.
Okay.
They already have all that document. If you haven't received it, you need to reach out to us, but I think I've uploaded it. But yeah, go ahead, Jesus. Thanks.
Well, the diary, it's supposed to see if there is any change in future missions. We will try to arrange to get a diet, and you start 2 weeks before starting the diet. But for this time, we will like try to know which is your pattern of nutrition. What do you eat for breakfast, for lunch? If you have any snacks, exercise, activity, if you do some exercise, aerobic, anaerobic, your healthy patterns about the diet, if you have a good bowel transit. It's just basic science. If your weight stayed like in the same, that it doesn't vary a lot, like you don't lose like 1 kilogram each day because of your diet, or it stayed like you have a regular diet, you have the same weight. And after we have like the control part, you will do in the mission, you will have also to fill that diary, because of some factors that you will have this in the mission. You probably can or start like stopping eating your food, and you will like get a type of isolation. That means that probably you won't eat the things even if you are hungry. So it also will help us to see if there is any problem with the food, or if you have other problems. If you are eating the food, if you have a change in performance, if the performance stay the same or it increase in comparison with your diet. So the diary it's more like to have a control of what you eat and how is your health status in a simpler way to explain that.
Right, that's right. So could you also tell them what they need to do right now in the pre-sim period?
Okay, you need to, when you get your diary, you need to type, like, for example, there is a space that it says lunch, breakfast. And then in breakfast, what do you take for breakfast? It's like 1 egg or scrambled eggs or 2 scrambled eggs and some milk. You write the portions that you have. Some people are really picky with their diet and they know how much calories they have in each portion. If you know that, you can put the caloric intake and what you take, like 1 egg and I have this calorie. If you don't know, you only put like I eat 1 egg, I eat 1 cup of milk, and then between the breakfast and the lunch, what do you have? It's like some snack, an apple. You write the apple. Then you go to the lunch. What did you eat for lunch? All the things that you use for the lunch. Then the snack between the lunch and the dinner, and what you have to dinner. Then there is a part down there that is about the health status that says how much exercise you do. If you do, for example, weights, how much time do you do weights that day? It's, for example, I do 30 minutes and I do 30 minutes of walking. So you put aerobic and then anaerobic exercise. Also, if you have some medicine, if you take, for example, medication for diabetes or hypertension or any problem that you have. Also, if you take any supplements, even if they are nature supplements, like, for example, I take a green tea oil or something like that, you put that in the supplement section.
Okay, Ezu, sorry, because
Yep.
it's time coming, but I think they get the gist. Just thank you so much. So Ezu is leading this, so you need to send, during this pre-sim period, I would like you to, let me put myself back. I would like you, I'm very cognizant of the time, so we would like you to send you have the Excel file, you have your diet journal, you need to fill that in starting now if you haven't, and we need you to send that in before you start flying out to Kathmandu, because that would be what we collate right now. So please fill out your diet journal. Means you have to write a narrative every day, the end of the day, how you feel. You need to take your weight, because we want to see your weight now in pre-sim, in your normal daily activity, in your normal daily life before you come into the mission. So please do that. Please write in your diary. Now your Excel file has multiple pages at the bottom. I'm sure you know how to use Excel file. But in the last couple of missions, we only had like scanty information. There was nothing from that in the other pages of the Excel file. So if you open that up, you can see one is looking, we want to ask you for your clinical and medical history and your social history. You need to fill that in now and send that over to us. So please do that at least by the middle of next week. So fill in your clinical, your social, medical history. Everything is obviously, it's internal, confidential, only the medical team will look at that. And it's also for us to track you during the mission as well, right? If there are any significant changes. Definitely if you have medication, you're on medication of any kind, please write that down. But this is kind of where you need to work on this now until we actually deploy. So please do that. That applies to everyone, including Saran. We need you to do that as part of the crew. So please do that as well. Thank you so much, Aziz. This is an ongoing longitudinal study, and this would be interesting to compare this with our low fidelity. You know, at the current time, we've deployed like over 10, 11 low fidelity missions, but we just, you know, the last 4 missions we started this project. So it would be great to see the difference in the low and mid, and then of course we go to high fidelity. So with that said, I know I'm cognizant of time. We have 7 minutes. I would like now to transfer, because I think we've done a lot of talking. I want you guys to show us a little bit more. So I know we got enough time maybe for some of the external projects. So maybe I'm going to say Sarah or Janet, who wants to go first, to just give a 2-3 minute. I mean, we'll go in a deeper dive next meeting into the projects, but just a quick overview of what you're proposing to bring on. Just everyone in the crew at least get to see and hear a little bit. So I'm going to leave it. Who wants to take the mic first, Sarah or Janet?
I can, if you like. I might. It might be really easy if you tell me, how do I share screen on this? Or
yes, yes. There's a button. If you see the bottom tab, you'll see a green box. It says share. Click on it, and that, yeah, and then you're able to do that.
Super. Okay, so these are just a few projects that with other partners. And one is the LifeTree, which is a virtual reality system which has been developed by the Exertion Games Lab coming out of RMIT. I've used this in space analogs before, and it's a beautiful program where it requires pursed lips breathing in order to work through the meditation and to see the tree of life appear in focus, and then the leaves fall on that. So that's something that I'll be bringing and we can utilize, and it's a really good way of becoming conscious of your breath, particularly in an environment like this where breathing and respiratory awareness is really important. Another is working with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University on their range of motion studies. This is a study that perhaps many of you have actually participated in other analogs. It's being undertaken across various sites and being collated. They're also now increasing the capabilities of that, and I'm assisting with them. And so I'm going to be bringing a motion capture suit to be able to not only document the range of motion, because we're not wearing spacesuits, but to understand how we're performing on EVAs at altitude and under these particular conditions and criteria. I'll come back to the motion capture suit because that's more what I'm interested in from a performance side as well. And so we've got dual use and piggybacking research here, and we're going to share a lot of the data. So these will be linked to GPS location as well. There's a suggestion that we undertake or make a commitment to a 1 second or micro documentary, which is using the 1 second a day formula. It's something that we can set up on your phones. We can do that when we arrive in Pokhara, and quite easily, really low battery usage, but at the end of it, we'll end up with something like 120 seconds of our entire mission. Just this lovely overview, a really short documentary, and I think you'll enjoy that. The Sci-Fi London Festival have sent a curated program that if we would like, so I've downloaded onto a playable system that doesn't require much battery, that if as part of the program or any spare time, like crew astronauts coming together to watch a film before they leave Earth together as a crew bonding experience, they have tried to imagine what a new vision of that might be, and they've offered that opportunity. We can take that or not, depending on time. Previously, I've worked to create land art installations with crews. So one of them was a moon henge, which was one of my favorites, and we ended up installing that in Linares. And it became part of the environment and part of the EVA process to work together and collectively build something out on site. I also worked at MDRS, looking at human performance with making an Olympiad. But we also included LiDAR scans of the environment of this moon henge that became a transmission back to a remote mission control, if you like, so that at the Monash immersive visualization platform. So in this instance, the Monash immersive visualization platform want to work with us again to do some mapping of the site, and I've already spoken to Saran about the potential for that, and working with an architect from NASA about designing a rock art installation that we would propose that we conduct on EVA. So using the motion capture suit, building the installation together as a team, reflecting culturally on what the symbolism of that might mean and how we're constructing that with a future vision, but also with recognition of our cultural past and our heritage back on Earth, and how we might relate to that. And then working with all kinds of technologies to build an immersive environment that would go into this cave platform later on. And this was one of the other scenarios that I've worked with before, with using the transmission to create a virtual reality integration that was then sent back for performance training out on that site. And then we can use an avatar later, and I can explain what we do when we use the motion capture within that environment that's been captured. And another one, finally, I'm not sure if this can go ahead, but potentially the use of a biopen, it's a bit clumsy and it's still a prototype, so I'm not sure if that will be useful or whether it will be durable enough, to be honest, with the kind of conditions that we're going into, but that's somebody has approached me relating to that. And also another company have suggested that they have a space suit that they might be able to lend us to test, but I'll get back to you if that's confirmed. And that's our 11 o'clock call, so I apologize. I'll go back to just normal video if I can get it off this. Stop
Wonderful.
share.
Thank you, Sarah. Wow, that's very fascinating, interesting. Really looking forward to interacting with it and experiencing it. So I know we said hard stop at 4, but I would like Janet I know Janet already presented, she's going to bring this into this next week's mission, but we'll end after Janet presents her project now. So Janet, would you be able to do that for us?
I can. I presented something, I put together something that's probably a bit longer than that, so I'll try and briefly go through it. Let's see.
It's okay, Janet. It's fine. Whatever you worked on, let's just use that. That would be great.
Okay.
I think we can have a few extra minutes for you because we really want to understand your project.
Thank you. So my main focus is to document the entire process of our mission. When I say that, it's that is my point of departure for then a project that I will combine and extract and create into an installation. And I'm just going to. Do you guys all see the screen, I'm assuming?
Yes, I can see it. I hope everyone can. If you can't, just...
Great.
say so?
So my projects, when I was preparing, can you hear me on top of this vocal?
Yeah, I can. If you can't,
Okay.
if anyone can't, just speak up. I can hear you loud and clear, Janet.
Okay. Yeah, let me know. As I was preparing to get ready for MAU-NEPAL, my mother has suffered from Alzheimer's disease over the last number of years, and she passed away a few weeks ago. And there was the parallel between preparing for the mission and watching my mother lose her struggle with Alzheimer's was really profound for me. It not only are some of the effects of isolation and containment and surviving within the extreme, applicable to astronauts and astronaut simulations, but also the same kind of symptoms become apparent in someone suffering from Alzheimer's disease. And so my original intent was much more a documentary in approach, and what I'm showing you are some excerpts from pieces that I have done in the past that are applicable in some way to this future mission. But with the loss of my mother, it restructured my thinking into combining really disparate aspects of the personal within the medical research, within a simulation. And so with all of your I really want to follow the mission and the mission of the mission, as in how do you conduct medicine in space? And so I'll document that through filming, but at the same time, I'm also extremely interested in researching both the psychological and physical implications of extreme and isolated, austere and isolated and contained environments, which involve time shifting, which is also something that happens with Alzheimer's. It can involve symptomatic paranoia, which is also something that happens within Alzheimer's disease. I'm interested in the biological underpinnings, which I think will also, is something that the data gathering will be happening in the mission. So that there is this collection of information from differing aspects of the personal and the professional and the simulation that will be interwoven in a final piece. I also hope to be able to interview each of you during the mission. These will be short interviews and obviously at your convenience. But I'm interested in discussing your individual sensations and experience within isolation. How does that affect you? And is there a parallel between that and perhaps what my mother experienced? The piece that I'm showing you right now is actually an installation that was filmed at the Mars Desert Research Station. And this is a project, just to give you an idea of how I work, where I documented the mission from start to finish. And I also, at the time, was researching artificial intelligence and met Shimon Robot, who you just saw on screen. Shimon is a robot that has extensive artificial intelligence. He's been programmed with the wealth of music history, and he plays the marimba. Percussive qualities for robots are much easier than other finger dexterities. So when I met Shimon, Shimon was able to, he had oral input, and so he was able to hear what other musicians were playing, and he could improvise. And then his improvising was drawing from that wealth of music history. When I met Bill Weinberg, who's Shimon's designer, he was at MIT, he's now at Georgia Tech. I challenged him and said, could I show Shimon one of my films, and could Shimon then compose and play a score for the film? And Gil's response was not yet, But we spent the next year working on algorithms that enhanced his visual mapping capabilities so that he's able to identify color, movement, distance, a number of cues that then, trigger his response, his musical response. So I start, when I approach a project, I have a framework that is mapped out in my mind. But I also have realized that no matter how much research I do and how much I think I understand what I'm going to do, it never becomes what I originally intended. And that is hopefully if I'm skilled enough and if I'm smart enough in the moment, I am open to what's happening in the situation, which I think I'm really excited about this situation. And I allow unforeseen information, circumstance, and perhaps things that seem like failure in the moment to then dictate the final project. The final project for me, my intent right now is that this will become both a documentary film, probably not super traditional in format, but documentary in the structure as in a single screen. I also will create a number of installations, which is what you're looking at now, which are installations I've created in the past, which are multiple screens, large scale, immersive in nature, incorporating both image and sound. So that is my intent. And just one last moment, the title of my piece is, I am so tired of trying to remember if I'm still alive. I don't have the data. And these were words that were spoken by my mother in the week before she passed away. And I just thought that was, as I've said, unexpected, parallel, and a place to jump off for a new project with the MAU mission in Nepal. Thanks.
Thank you, Janet, so much. I know that, let me put myself on video.
Sorry.
It's okay. I know that we're going to, that's all right. I know that we're going to experience it next week anyway, when you come here to Los Angeles. I'm really looking forward to that. And so thank you so much for sharing. In fact, thank you everybody for sharing and giving me your time and giving us your time today. I know it's a hard stop at 4, I said, but 9 minutes is okay. I guess we're on Mars, so we're on a Mars soul time. So we got extra 45 minutes. But anyway, with that said, this was a crew introductory meeting, and that's what it was focused on. Our next meeting will be primarily the crew, and also I would do a separate teleconference with the remote medical team and then the remote support team. So these will actually, the remote medical team and the remote support team will be together in a separate teleconference. But our next meeting teleconference is specifically on the crew members, and we'll go into deeper dive into the other projects. And in the interim period, we'll be sending over more protocols, procedures, as I had mentioned on our Facebook page group. Please spend some time to look at it before you come in person in Poker in a few weeks. Spend some time to really review. There's a lot of protocols and procedures, and we're all professors. A lot of us are, scientists and medical clinicians. So we know, we can take a lot of information in, and it's all about preparation, isn't it? So be prepared. That will determine the success or failure of the mission. It also will help to mitigate a lot of potential conflicts that could possibly arise. I'm trying to think, to mitigate and reduce that from happening, but also a lot of the, crew dynamics. But the whole point of these simulations is to look at these things, right? Is to study it, is to, look at developing countermeasures. So with that said, I want to say thank you, and actually maybe give a couple of minutes to anybody who might just have a question, and we'll just have 2 more minutes. So if you don't have any questions, that's fine. If you do, here's your chance to just ask a question. I'm sorry, you know, we only got a couple of minutes. But if you have a question that needs to be answered now, please speak up. Okay, no questions. Great. I'm going to say, or we're going to say, just good night, or good day, or good afternoon, wherever time zone, good morning, whatever time zone you're in. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And in the intro period, like I said, please reach out if you have any questions. You know, Saran and will also be reaching out to everybody with what's missing, what's needed, and in terms of the travel, the booking, of the hotels, accommodations, so on and so forth. And I will reach out as well with the GAO conference, and we will be designing the workshops at the GAO conference at separate meetings. So with that said, thank you so much. Namaste, and have a wonderful. Oh, Sarah, you wanted to say something? Yeah, namaste, everybody, and take care. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.